And once again on Tuesday, the sounder for the day on Tuesday is CQ, CQ, CQ. Calling anybody who will listen, anybody who wants to talk, anybody who perhaps has something to say, or perhaps they would just like to listen to somebody else say something. CQ, CQ, CQ. The international call which says, I'm here, let's talk. And hopefully that's where you and I are today. Yesterday I talked about success, and success is mental health. And increasingly we are finding that that is going to be part of the problem that we are going to face in even greater numbers. What we have discovered is that even the COVID thing may have profoundly changed many of our personalities. And as a result of all that, we're not only entering 2023 with some economic difficulties, it could be that in many ways the things that happened to us during the pandemic could cause us to find even greater difficulty in the lives we are seeking to live and in the recovery we're trying to put together. So, can I talk just for a few minutes about as if your life depended on it? As if your life depended on it. I'm Stan Houston. The program is Interesting Ideas, and hopefully that's what will happen. It begins right now. Certainly an interesting expression, and it certainly can't, hopefully, talk about many things, as if your life depended on it. And usually that's an expression where we are saying to somebody, hey, this is really important stuff. This is something you better take very seriously. You know, when I went to the doctor a few years ago, she confronted me with just that. Your life depends on this. And that was when, thank goodness, it was found at that time that the cancer had returned. And she said, we've got to do something. We've got to do something. And of course, we tried to do something. And thank goodness, I just took my 5th year recovery PSA test. And I think it's going to be good. But hopefully it will give me the continuation of the last 4 years, which is, it's still good. What you did when your life depended on it, it worked. You're okay. Now someday, that's not going to be the case. Someday, that recovery and that healing that I now enjoy, in some way, that will come to an end. As if your life depended on it. Now, one of the reasons I'm going there is, just as I mentioned before, is we are discovering that even though the COVID situation made many, many changes, and hopefully now it's no longer a major issue, we can, quote, get back to normal. And of course, all of you who are perceptive are smiling at me and shaking your head, because that's not going to happen, is it? That's not going to happen. Normal as we thought it could be or should be probably will not return. Now, many people are focused on the elections, particularly here in America, thinking, okay, we've got some problems here. Things are not going well. The leadership has failed us in a variety of ways, and we're wondering, would new leadership help, or new situations, or new plans, new projects? Do something. That expression, do something. Well, when we do that something, will it be better? I'm more and more convinced that the not normal is perhaps the normal, but we're not quite sure what's going to be the new situation that we maybe try and live with as if our life depends on it. Let me just suggest a couple things that I think we need to think about. First of all, I'm anxious. I shouldn't say anxious, because I'm not anxious. That's a bad term unless it really is anxiety. I'm eager. I'm eager to read a book by a gentleman who I don't know, never met him, but I've met him through the internet writings that he has produced. And his name is Roy Britt, and he's just come out with a new book. And by the way, that's the wonderful thing about this particular part of the technology. He doesn't have to go to all the trouble of getting somebody to publish his book and then print it and put it in bookcases. It's totally an e-book. He writes it, he puts it together, somebody puts the cover to it, and he puts it out there, and he can sell the book that he wrote all by himself. By the way, you can do the same thing, and we can help you do that. And here's the title of the book, is Sleep, Your New Superpower. Sleep, Your New Superpower. Now, of course, I said that one of the things that we need to do is we need to learn how to sleep. And so I'm very eager to see just what he has come up with and what new ideas that perhaps can confront me and perhaps enhance even the position that I took, as I have taken very seriously, almost as if my life depended on it, how I would structure my life in such a way that I get enough sleep. And at the same time, accomplish all of the many, many, many things I have going on in my life. So I'm eager to read Sleep is Your New Superpower. And we're going to try and do that. But then I also came across, and this is why we're keeping it a little bit tucked in on this Tuesday, because I just want you to think about this. I'm reading a book by a gentleman named Peter Grieg, and the book is one of my favorite subjects, the one that we're talking about in one of our great podcasts called More Power to You, a prayer podcast. And fundamental to our life view is that prayer matters. We need to learn, just as the followers of Jesus said, hey, a lot of this power stuff that you have, all of these good things that you seem to be able to do, it seems like you pray a lot. You know, in fact, you pray more than the professional praying people, it seems, in the faith and religion that we're familiar with. And so they did that classic question. Teach us how to pray. And so we are actually putting together, and I'm just the wonder, no, I'm not the wonder, I'm just the guy who is given the wonder of listening to Dr. David Chotka, who is part of the presenting program, who's written a book on power praying, praying with power. And it's taking the words of the Lord's Prayer, that simplest of prayers, and showing the deep meanings behind it, and how true life power can come to you when you learn how to pray. Now, of course, many people just don't believe this. They don't think that's true. Well, there's a lot of things that are true that most people don't believe, and I think this is one of them. And so I encourage you, perhaps you want to know more about that, we just entitled it More Power to You, a prayer podcast. Search it. It's with Dr. David Chotka, and it will be a challenge to you and perhaps a changing life to you. Now, what Peter Grieg, who is also in the business of teaching people how to pray, points out that it is not always the time that it is the prayer that you do. It is the preparation for prayer. And how do you prepare to pray? You sit still. You be quiet. You sit still and be quiet. And what he points out, and he makes a very bold statement, he says, you know what? You must seek stillness. You must seek solitude. You must seek that rest in your life as if your life depended on it, because it does. The world is a noisy, noisy place. We are fortunate in this nice little apartment we have that it's very much within the woods and by a nice little lake, but it's close by to the hustle and bustle of the city of Raleigh-Durham. And because it's a busy place, the sirens go quite often. Now, in many, many cases, that means what? That means something has gone wrong, something is bad, something has happened. And that's the world we live in. One of the things that when we work with the dude ranches of the West, guess what we're beginning to sell? When people go out to Montana, or they go out to Wyoming, or they go out to Arizona, or they go out to the Colorado dude ranches. Certainly the horses and the hospitality and the cowboy experience, but it turns out we're also selling stillness, quiet. Stillness, quiet. As my friend Russell True, head of the White Stallion Ranch, you need to check that out, because they're doing a podcast called Cowboy Up Podcast. You'd love the Cowboy Up Podcast. He says one of the first things that people discover, that even though it's been said, they walk into their very nice little rooms in the dude ranch and something is missing. Guess what's missing? A television. Yes, first class hospitality accommodation, but there's no television. If you want to go to one of the lobbies, it's possible that there's one television on, but other than that, there's no television. And there's an initial complaint about it, but we just tell people that's part of the experience. It's quiet. No news. No television. And what people discover is by day 3, day 4, day 5, not only do they not miss it, they kind of like it. As if your life depended on it. There's an interesting statement in the one Bible verse that almost everybody knows, particularly if they have any relationship to the biblical tradition, and even many people who don't, is the 23rd Psalm. How does that go? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We lie down in green pastures. We rest. Our soul is restored. What I'm coming to the point is that going forward, stillness, solitude, quietness has to be a fundamental part of how we're going to do life going forward. In the midst of all the noise, shut up. Restore your soul. Rest. Quiet. Solitude. Maybe that's the resolution the intention that you should find going forward into 23. I'm Stan Houston. Interesting ideas. We'll be right back. Thank you for your time. If I can be of any help to you and give you any more references or recommendations, there's some of the things that we're discovering about the power of sleeping, the power of breathing, the power that comes from quiet walking, all of those things that begin to make life slow down just a bit. And who knows, maybe our life does depend on it. Please reach out to me. First of all, this may sound a little bit crazy, but if you've got some wisdom that is worth sharing, that it's okay to break the silence and listen to some of the words and wisdom that you might have from time to time, and you'd like to do what we're doing, taking a few minutes to put it out there and see if it's helpful to people, we'd like to help you discover your audience and share your story and your wisdom, insight, and truth, because you have much of that inside of you. Some of you have no idea what you are capable of. Reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, stanhouston@gmail.com, or go to witradio.net, witradio.net. As if your life depended on it. Silence, stillness, solitude. Because who knows? It just might. Best and blessings to you, and bye for now.